Hi, my name is Orondaam Otto, and I am an under 40 CEO.
The African Renaissance. The concept that the African people and nation shall overcome the current challenges confronting the continent and achieve cultural, scientific, and economic renewal is here, with young men and women taking the lead. Some call them the new school heroes. We call them under 40 CEOs.
Orondaam Otto is a social entrepreneur, development consultant, and community organizer with over 15 years experience working across the private, civil society, and public sectors. He holds a bachelor's degree from the University of Port Harcourt, an executive master's in project management from CUPE, United Kingdom, a certificate in social change, innovation, and social entrepreneurship from the United Nations University for Peace in Costa Rica, and various development-based courses around leadership, development finance, governance from Henley Business School, University of Stellenbosch Business School, and the MIT. In 2012, following the increasing number of out-of-school children, Orondaam founded Slum2School Africa to support the education of underserved children in slums and hard-to-reach communities, and since inception, Slum2School has grown to become one of Africa's leading volunteer-driven developmental organizations. Orondaam Otto is the founder and executive director at Slum2School Africa.
All right, welcome to Under 40 CEOs, Orondaam.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Orondaam, you were born and raised in Port Harcourt, in Rivers State, Nigeria. And of course, tell me about, growing up in Port Harcourt, in the oil-rich, Rivers State.
Interesting question. Actually, I was born in the northern part of Nigeria. I was born in Zaria, Ahmadu University Teaching Hospital in Kaduna, Zaria. You can feel my Hausa accent a little bit, right? Anyway, my dad was in the military and also a medical doctor, so he was across the country. And it was interesting because back then there were a number of still realities we face today with the religious crisis, and so we moved back to Port Harcourt, and I grew up in Port Harcourt. My primary, secondary, and even tertiary education was in some very interesting and amazing schools back in Port Harcourt, and it was a great experience actually. My siblings, friends, great memories, all in the city of Port Harcourt. I moved to Lagos in 2011 from a national youth service, and between 2011 and date have been residents in Lagos. But of course, I've still visited several parts of the country, including my hometown.
All right. So let's go back to your tertiary education now. You ended up studying medicine, right?
No.
Okay, tell me, because you did get admitted to study medicine.
So, of course, growing up, my dad, like I mentioned, is a medical doctor. And, parents always just have a way of choosing what careers you should pursue. And the reality is for almost every family, you must have a doctor, an engineer, a lawyer, an accountant. And so somehow those career options were shared for everyone based on our personalities. I was someone who always loved to help and be there for everyone. So I had that very empathetic and caring side. And it was so clear that this was a medical doctor in the house. And so right from childhood, all my toys, when you're getting new Christmas clothes and buying nice, Lego boxes and very beautiful cars. I get doctor sets with stethoscopes and thermometers. And so I grew up loving the profession of medicine. But getting into medical school, I realized that I really did not love the sight of blood. Right? I also didn't just love the fact that I couldn't control certain things and people were definitely going to die. I'm really very much emotional, and so getting in contact with cadavers in the lab and seeing the reality of actually practicing medicine, made me rethink, that decision. Say, this is what I really want to practice. Is this the career I really want to pursue? But then I realized that I loved to help people. I loved to create an impact. I wanted to actually create an impact. And so the question for me was, how then do I navigate this? And that's where the idea of social entrepreneurship came into the picture. And when I realized that you could actually be a social entrepreneur, you could actually create amazing and tremendous impact across the world. I grew up seeing my dad always attending to patients every single day and doing the same routine. I'm someone who is very spontaneous. I really do not like routine work. I don't like doing the same thing over and over. And so that for me was also a concern.
So you made a switch from medicine to...
Oh, sorry. I still studied human anatomy, which was in the medical sciences, right? And it was still a great experience because it made me really understand the nature of a human being. It made me understand the psychology and the physiology of what makes us human. And, that experience as well has basically shaped a lot of the decisions I make today in ensuring that, we can give young people and we can give humans, what they truly deserve and enable them, live to their maximal potential.
All right, so you've mentioned in one of your interviews in the past that purpose was very important for any young student, and finding it was quite critical to their success. So you tell me, how did you find that purpose eventually, and what exactly is it?
You see, every day I believe that we find purpose. I'm not sure there's any one person on earth who has said I found purpose, and the next day you're stuck with the previous day. So for me, every day I try to make it a new experience, finding what makes me fulfilled and what gives me purpose. Doing what I do today, working with amazing young people and thousands of young people across the world, impacting the lives of the most vulnerable young people. It makes me really understand and feel, that I'm creating a very transformative impact. And that gives me fulfillment and makes me find purpose every single day.
So would you say that your purpose has evolved over time?
I think it's still evolving, right? It's an experience that is not static, and I believe that every other day I need to find, if I wake up one day and I'm not finding fulfillment doing what I'm doing presently, I think at that point I will find a way to transit, because once you find yourself in a place where you don't find purpose, you're not just going to suffer, but the people and the organization will find itself suffering. Right?
So you mentioned in an interview that changing the perception or how Nigeria is perceived is at the core of what you do at Slum2School. Now, has anything shifted since you started in terms of perception of Nigeria with the work that you've done so far?
So I think there's a whole lot of impact we can measure, across the communities where we work. One very important factor, one fundamental importance that I feel needs to actually change is the acceptance from young people, understanding that great success comes with investing in themselves. We live in a country where so many young people do not even feel there's value in getting an education, because of the realities they see around their communities, and also because of the realities they see, in the lives of people who have gone through that process. And so the journey is not a sprint, it's actually a marathon. We need to ensure that we make young people understand that success is not a destination, it's actually an experience, it's a journey. And we need to support them and give them the right platform, the right results. We're still very far from that, but advocating and continuously highlighting the importance of ensuring that young people are given an opportunity to actually get quality education, good education, and maximize their potential, is continuously important.
Okay, so Makoko was your starting point, for Slum2School, and I can also see that even reflected from your reception with the canoe and all of that. What's the story, first of all, and have you scaled into other communities?
So that's a very, very interesting question, right? So many of the communities we work in today are literally underserved communities. And there's a similar reality, most of them. They are remote, they are riverine, so that is not just significant to only the Makoko community, but interestingly, that was the community where we started. Driving across the Third Mainland Bridge in 2011 and coming into the reality of what the Makoko community, was. for me, it was a very interesting moment. That was the epiphany for me, realizing that there's a community like this, with so many resilient, ambitious, entrepreneurial, and amazing people. And the children just lacked an opportunity to get, to get access and to get the support in accessing quality education. And I was working at the bank at that time. For me, the question was, do I just keep doing this, or do I find a way to solve this problem? I had two choices. And as the days went by and the weeks went by, I realized that, fulfillment for me at the end of my service was not just going to be, graduating or passing out with a great certificate and, getting retained in the bank, but actually seeing that children in those communities got access to education. And so at some point, I made a decision to leave the bank, to resign, which was a very tough decision, for a very young person at the time. It came with lots of challenges, lots of opposition, lots of questioning, lots of reflection, and I'm so happy that that decision was being made, because that year we were able to get 114 children into school for the first time.
Great.
Right, 9 years ago. And interestingly, those children have gone really, really far and wide today. So many of them are done with their secondary school and some are in the university. But we didn't just stop there. It was 114 children. Today we've impacted over 107,000 children across over 45 communities.
That's amazing.
Makoko was the first. Today we have several communities across the country, moving into Kenya and Ghana as well. So it's really inspiring seeing the impact. But what's even more significant is the fact that it's not just myself. We've been able to inspire and attract over 11,000 volunteers, over 500 incredible organizations and partners who have worked with us in ensuring that several amazing initiatives have birthed and are implemented across different communities.
Otto has worked with over 10,000 volunteers across 35 countries, providing educational scholarships and various development support to over 107,000 children from 42 communities in Nigeria. His passion to improve education outcomes and human capital development policies while promoting reform-based leadership to eliminate socio-economic inequalities and achieve a sustainable and equitable economic growth has led him to build various early childhood development centers, adopt public schools, build e-libraries, health centers, STEM and innovation labs which are serving thousands of children.
So Makoko, yes, was your starting point. But in my experience, and I've visited Port Harcourt, and I know you hold Port Harcourt also dear, just being, by virtue of being from there. I know there are communities like Bundu, like Marine Bays. I've been there to work there. Did you immediately just say, you know what, Makoko is done, I'm going back home, that should be my next port of call?
So first of all, Nigeria is my home. And I happen to come from Rivers State. Lagos State happened to be the state where Slum2School got started, but we hadn't stopped there. Slum2School has scaled into over 45 communities across 7 states in Nigeria, and Port Harcourt is one of them. Marine Bays and Bundu Waterside, like you had mentioned, are communities where we have had programs, and we are currently supporting children in the region as well. But not just Port Harcourt, different parts of the country, from Borno to Abuja to Ogun State and Oyo State, Ibadan. And presently we're currently moving into Kaduna, Nasarawa, and Niger. And there's several initiatives, taking place across several parts of the country. And we're working with several partners like Domino's Pizza, to provide scholarships for certain children in several communities like that.
Okay, so allow me to quote you when you closed your TEDx talk with these words: "The future is not in competition, it is in collaboration." Now, could you just highlight instances where competition didn't work, but collaboration won?
So Nigeria is a very diverse country. Our realities, I wouldn't want to use the word divided, but the truth is we actually divided across so many lines. It could be religious lines, it could be political lines, ethnic lines, and so many times people find themselves in competition, for what we could call the national cake, and this is not just it's not just individuals, even organizations. You find even governments, different government agencies competing, for the spotlight. And I've realized over time, working across several communities and working on developmental programs and projects across different states, and with so many young people, that when you bring people together and you have a unifying vision, the impact is accelerated. There's some kind of division of labor. There's a unification of dreams and visions, and everyone comes with their own competencies and skills, and you see an accelerated growth. And this is one of the things that continuously we find lacking in so many parts of our country, and one of the reasons why there's always communal clashes and religious differences. I believe that, like you had said, and you had quoted, the future is actually going to be more sustainable and more successful if we put much more effort in collaborating rather than competing.
Okay, now still on the subject of collaborations and of course partnerships, and you did mention the government and agencies of the government. How have you partnered with government or collaborated with the government in the past? And is there much more that you could do with the government? And if so, what is holding you back?
The government has a primary responsibility of providing access to education for its citizens, and children. The rise of private education is actually because of the failure of public education. And today we see in so many states across the country, and even the country as a whole, we see lots of private schools coming up, and of all cadres and all levels, from what they call the low-income private schools to the high-end private schools. And we see that public schools have been segregated to the base of the pyramid and left for just, those who cannot afford even the cheapest public or the cheapest private schools. And so it's important that we work with governments and not just criticize them. It's important we advocate, and highlight to them things that are extremely important, because in so many instances we realize that they don't have the answers completely. We feel that once someone becomes a political or a public servant or a civil servant, automatically there's an umbrella of knowledge that's goes above them. But we forget that these are the same people who come from the same places we are in. And so it's important that we, as individuals, put so much attention in what public servants do, in what the politicians are doing, in the decisions that are being made, and ensure that they're the right decisions. Because at the end of the day, the future is ours. The country is ours. We're all going to experience whatever the results of the decisions, which are being made.
Let's tie the economy now and the growth of the economy to education, because I believe there's a link. But what would you say the role of education plays in economic growth?
So the success of every great nation is largely dependent on the quality of education that it invests in its people. When we see how several developed nations, in Europe, in America, and even in Asia, and we see how the economy has scaled over the past, three decades, we can see that there were intentional decisions actually put in delivering quality education and, a focused education on several, classes of learners. We're still very far from even making decisions on the kind of curriculum we want to deliver to young people. We can't be better than the knowledge that's invested in people. And it's very important that we are making intentional decisions. We're investing, intentionally, and ensuring that every young person is given access to quality education. Unfortunately, today we see that Nigeria has a lot of issues around its educational sector. From the quality of teachers, and we can see policy issues that have, kept the teaching profession, where it is. From the fact that to become a teacher, you need to go into a college of education, and to go into a college of education, you don't need to have even the average qualification that is needed to go into a university or even a polytechnic. So you see people who have the least qualification going to a college of education, and then becoming a teacher comes with its own stigma, especially in the public sector. So we need to start rethinking a lot of decisions and policies being made, Secondly, we need to ensure that young people have access to education. We still have the highest number of children who are out of school, and numbers have varied from 10.5 million to 13.2 to 16.4 million, children continuously increasing. These are young people. These are great talents. These are bright minds that just need to be invested with quality education. And so you can imagine if every individual, every child, had basic quality education, imagine the ripple effect that's going to have on the country, in our economy and the GDP. So it's very important that as leaders, as institutions, as governments, we are decisive and we take very, clear actions and be very intentional in ensuring that we deliver the best or we provide the best for young people.
Okay. And providing the best is what you've done still, as you've now built what you've described as Africa's first virtual learning studio. Now, what was the thought behind this, and how did you achieve this feat?
So that was an interesting development for us, because it wasn't envisaged, I would say, a year ago. It was as a result of the shutdown of schools and even, the economy as a result of the novel coronavirus pandemic. We realized that when coronavirus pandemic broke out, countries were on lockdown and schools were shut down, and learners and children actually were stuck at home. They couldn't access basic learning. The children we serve and the communities we support are the most underserved, and of course it's very difficult to find basic infrastructure. So tablets and computers and laptops, internet connectivity, headsets, and all of those devices that you find in so many homes were definitely lacking in those homes. And these children were, it was obvious the depth of marginalization, and the level of segregation that they faced as a result of, the economic position in society. And we felt that it was an important time for us to actually show our commitment, and actually maximize our innovation. We have a network of incredible young people across the world who are filled with great potential, great talent, and inspiring, commitment to delivering the best. And that was a great time to bring everyone together to say, what do we do to ensure that we do not leave these kids behind? And so we went ahead to build what was the first, virtual learning classroom, and almost like a real classroom, but the only difference was that learners and the children, the students were on screens. We provided laptops and tablets and all the necessary resources to ensure that they were able to connect into the classroom. That was extremely significant because we could see the impact that it created in the lives of these children. We could see the confidence it bestowed upon them, and we could see how innovative they become, and the innovations and inventions they began to create.
Okay, so how many beneficiaries have you signed on to this platform?
So we had signed on about 1,050. We're currently scaling that. We're looking at raising more partners and generating more funds to procure more devices. Interestingly, we won a grant from Prudential Zenith. We got partners like Elitial Capital and ESPN and Domino's Pizza, Eat and Go, who all came on board and supported us in the first phase. We are currently launching the second phase, and we hope to sustain this even though schools are reopening. Hi, my name is Orondaam Otto, and you too can be an under 40 CEO.